Hi everybody, ACX Mentor week 4 of 4. We finally made it. So what we're going to be doing today, you'll be pleased to hear, is have no exercises. So that's the really good news. Let's get that out of the way first. And what we're going to do is actually focus on what happens next. So what's going to become of you as ACX mentors? What choices do you have? What material can you use? So by way of that, let's have a look at this construct, which is all about focusing on best utilization of our time. As you know, the ethos behind the BP group and everything we do is upskilling the organization to be able to do this stuff for themselves. So you'll see when I'm talking about the particular courses that you can run internally, that's built in. That's built into how the licenses operate. But here's the sort of layout for today, as you can see. So we're going to talk about the Certified Outside-In Masters, the Accredited Customer Experience Masters, the licenses themselves, how this material is stored, and particularly I'm going to get the material to you in the first instance, and we'll talk about the usage of the Experience Manager. But before we do any of that, let's just do a quick revisit of what we covered in week 3. And if you recall, week 3 was very much focused around measurements. A lot of the measurements that systems that we have at the moment, we inherited them from the industrial age. And they were never designed for the third decade of the 21st century. They were measurement systems which were geared around production management. So running factories, improving efficiency and effectiveness within factories and that sort of a thing. And oftentimes what we find is that organizations have got a prevalence of those sort of measures. So in call centers, for instance, things like average handle time, they're industrial age measures. Abandon rates are industrial age measures. The measures we should have are measures which focuses on delivering successful outcomes. So as we all know, when we're creating those successful customer outcomes, we develop under section 7 of the SCOC a set of SMART measures. Now they should be our guiding light against any particular experience or process. In addition to having those SMART measures, there's a whole bunch of other measures that you could have which are looking at the world through that outside-in lens, through that lens of customer centricity. And last week we talked about these 21 different measures. So I hope you've had a chance to review them and reflect on them and think about the measurement systems in place in your own organization. And are they primarily industrial age artifacts, or do they actually point us towards the North Star? Do they create that North Star alignment? Well, if you begin to replace some of those old industrial age measures with some of these newer measures, in addition to the SCOC measures, you'll get to a far better place much more quickly. So that was the essence. So reflect on that for a little while and be very aware of that, because as we said last week, we can talk until we're blue in the face about becoming customer centric, going outside in, doing all those other wonderful things. But if we don't fundamentally change how we measure success, we'll still get the same old, same old. And what's that thing about if you pay people for doing stupid things, right? They're going to get really smart at it, right? So what we want to do is reward people for achieving successful outcomes. Okay. So that was week 3 and measurement. If any of you want to have a particular discussion about any of those features in detail, just ping me on WhatsApp or set a task against me in the Experience Manager, which I know some of you have been doing recently. Thank you very much. So let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the discussion around the Certified Outside-In Masters program and the Accredited Customer Experience Masters program. So with the Certified Outside-In Masters and the Accredited Customer Experience Masters in mind, let's have a look at what that's all about. You guys, as ACX mentors with a suitable license, will be qualified to train up to Masters level. So as we know, for those of us who completed the ACX Masters, that covers 5 levels. The Certified Outside-In Master is 7 weeks effectively. So you move through 7 different modules, and within each module, there are a number of sub-sessions as well. There's 3 sub-sessions. So you think about that, of the 6 primary sessions under the COIM, you've got 18 sort of discrete chunks which take people through navigating the world of outside in. What's the difference between the 2 programs? The ACXM is primarily aimed at people who are already in the CX space. they're already inside of a customer experience department or function, or in fact, they might be developing one within their organization. Whereas the certified outside in masters is more appropriate to the general population of an organization. So the leadership team, the people who are in operations, the people who are in all those different departments in sales and marketing and so on, who don't necessarily have attached to them a responsibility for delivering customer experience, but everybody plays a role in terms of helping an organization become customer centric. So accordingly, that's the primary difference between the two. So you're qualified to train up to masters. In both programs, there's biannual updates. So twice a year, we provide an update to all the material. You'll have access to all these different materials, initially on USB sticks. And as I'll talk a little bit later on in terms of when we talk about how we distribute this, we distribute from the cloud as well. You can go and pull down the sort of latest versions as they're actually uploaded. And what we're trying to do is minimize the amount of times you have to actually keep downloading these things or going accessing them. So there's a biannual update and you get access to all the materials, all the templates, the PDFs, all the associated videos and so on. And then couple that with the ongoing support. So you just have to reach out and talk to me or talk to one of the other folks who's involved in actually the BP group, and we'll guide you in the right direction. So you have access to that Built For You program, the COIM, and we ran that for the first time a few weeks ago now, and it took place over 7 weeks. So you could actually take that 7-week recording and use it in your organizations. As I said, once you've got the license, use it within your organization, or you could take it to clients. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works and the differences about whether you're using the pre-recorded material or you're just using it as the template design with yourself who's delivering any training or facilitation. The ACXM, slightly different. That's already bounded and locked. And in terms of our partners who deliver that, they deliver that as is at the moment. So there's not the same opportunity to flex that about as you would have with the COIM, for instance. So that's covering off the COIM, the ACXM. We've already talked about week 3. So let's shift our focus now on to what the licensing situation is like. And essentially, there's 3 versions to suit your needs. The first of those versions is Consultant Enterprise. There's then the Internal For and Internal Light. Now, they should be self-explanatory there, but Consultant Enterprise is for organizations who are consultants, and they go to other clients, other corporates, other enterprises, and deliver both their products and service, their consulting, and their training to them. And how the Consultant Enterprise works is there's an annual fee associated with that. And then we, the BP group, get 20% top line attribution from the revenue from those enterprises. So say, for instance, you were running a course and there were 10 people attending and you were charging $2,000, that's $20,000. So of that $20,000, you would send the BP group 10% of that. And that 10% then covers all the things that we have to do in and around, 20%, sorry. That 20% covers all those things in and around certification, the accreditation style of things, providing support, running the database of the people who've got the various certifications and accreditations. Internal For is where you're inside of an organization already, you're probably an employee yourself, and what you want to do is upskill the organization. So in a similar way, you pay an annual fee, and the annual fee is geared around the number of people in the organization. And then everybody you train, you pay the BP group $200 per person qualified. So if you're taking a class of 10 people, that will be 10 times $200, $2,000. And what the $200 covers, again, is all that stuff to do with the certification, accreditation, maintenance of all the materials and so on. The annual fee itself covers the use of the IP and trademarks and all those other things. And as you probably know, we have relationships with certain people who provide us with videos. And so we have special relationships with those in the sense that it's only people who are coaches and mentors who can access that material and accredit those respective people who provided that. The third alternative is Internal Light. So similar to Internal For, and the differences between these is that Internal For, you can deliver that COIM training as is. You could just take what I put down on video and all the materials, and take people through that, sit them in a room and have them go through the sessions. And as we discussed a few minutes ago, there's 18 sessions plus week 7, which is a bonus week. You could customize it on the internal full as well. You could put your own brand logos on there and things, and strip out the BP group ones and make it your own effectively. Make it what XYZ corporations certified outside in masters training. And that full certification that comes with that is slightly different from the internal light, which you could train people in the techniques, but we don't offer certification for that. There's an annual fee associated with the IP and the licensing and that sort of a thing, but we're not offering certification for that. But you can, of course, upskill people in all the different techniques and so on. And the last bit to sort of say on the licensing side is that all 3 versions get the biannual updates. The consultant enterprise also includes 2 half-day webinar updates for the consultant's customers. So if you want to get one of our team to actually present to your customers, then we will do that. So I did one recently, which was about target operating models. And people were trying to understand this organization had spent time developing a target operating model. And how does that work with outside in? How could you make the organization customer centric in association with a target operating model? So it doesn't have to be a theme in the stuff that we talk about when we're talking about the course. It could be on any subject matter under the sun. It could be chess, for instance. Yeah, it could be anything, but that's part of that offering as well. The 2 internal full and consultant enterprise also include what we call outside in visits. And that's where we do this thing, industrial tourism. You may want to sign up for one of the visits that we do to various people who are outside in, and go and talk to your peers in those organizations. Of course, those get full pretty quickly. And when the world returns post-COVID to some sort of normality, those will resume as well. And we let all the people who are mentors and coaches be aware of that. Sometimes you may want to bring along some of your management team, some of the people who aren't accredited or certified, just to see what other companies are actually doing in and around outside in. So any questions on licenses, we can take those. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to reach out to everybody over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll have a one-on-one to discuss your experience through the program, any questions that might have developed between now and then. And then with that ongoing support in mind, we'll keep in touch, and periodically we'll have a coffee morning or something, a virtual coffee morning or something like that. And so if you've got any questions about licenses, so ping me directly. Let's get a slot in the diary fairly soon, and we can have that discussion. Okay, so as I say, 3 versions to suit your needs. So what's next on our agenda? So we've covered off the COIM, the ACXM, the licenses, and we've revisited week 3. The next one you may be asking about, because I mentioned it already a couple of times, is the storage. And up until very recently, all the storage was in the cloud. But if we go back 10 or 15 years, people used to get USB sticks. And interestingly enough, with organizations becoming more security conscious now, there's more and more people, again, requesting USB sticks, which is natural. So you don't have to navigate firewalls and have lockouts from different parts of the system and that sort of a thing. So all this material that you've experienced over the last few weeks, you're going to get on a USB stick. I'll also be providing the done-for-you COIM on a USB stick and the ACXM material, so it's going to be a pretty chunky USB stick. Post that, once you've got your USB stick, of course, that probably is going to get out of date fairly quickly, because CM method now is in version 12, and as most of you know, that's been around 12 or 13 years, so that increments fairly quickly. Now, because you get access to some of the developing IP, we'll put that up in the cloud in Dropbox, and then you can pull it down as need be. What we'll do is we'll ping you, let you know there's some new stuff up there. You can go and grab it, do a once and for all sort of download of that new stuff, and then add it to the things that you might be storing on your organization's server. So in terms of the USB sticks, Dropbox and TEM, they're included in the license fees. So if you're, again, it'll depend on how you want to distribute these within your own organization. If you put them on, say, an Exchange server or something like that, great, everybody can access them immediately. But sometimes people want to take them on the road, in which case you would put it on a USB stick as well. So that includes all the associated thing to do with e-certification, the mailers that will do to people who qualified, all that's sort of included within the license fees. The Dropbox, this is what one looks like, and this was the Outside In 2020 program that we ran to certify the first bunch of Outside In Masters a few weeks ago. And you can see it's split into weeks, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you double click on those weeks within Dropbox, you'll see it cascade out, and it shows you all the PDFs, the PowerPoint slides, the associated video of the session, and so on. So that's all there, and that's all done for you, as you can see there. The files you can download locally. So obviously we want to know you've actually done that, it's on the server, because of course if the license expires, then you'll have to delete the material, no longer licensed to actually be able to use it. But I'm sure that's not going to happen, is it? And then of course, all the ACX mentors, we did a special agreement with our friends at the Experience Manager. ACX mentors have access to the Experience Manager free for life. Okay, so that's pretty good. If you go and have a look inside the Experience Manager and look at the price points and so on like that, I think the initial one at the moment, and this again may change over time, is the minimum is $500 for 9 people. But you as ACX mentors get free use of it all the time. Now, you may want to share some of the work that you're doing inside the organization within the Experience Manager, and everybody doesn't have to have a license to see it, because you could give them view only access, for instance. So say, as I do sometimes, I want to share something with a management team. What I'll do is I'll give them special access, special privileges, and they can see it for a couple of days or a week or something like that. And then those privileges automatically will revoke.